Will, a 5-time Ironman competitor, how did you develop the anything is possible mindset?
Right. What a great question. Look, what I guess I'll pop it back this way. What changes inside somebody when they make some kind of a crazy decision, like in my case, to go do Ironman? Now, look, I didn't even one a triathlon of any distance before I was 60 years old. So for anybody out there right now who's like, wow, I wish I would have done that when I was younger, I just want to tell you, it's never too late, no matter where you are, to go out and have a different experience. I think what shifts inside, and I know what shifted inside of me,
Yeah.
was I had a tap on the shoulder. And maybe everybody can relate. It's like this little tap on the shoulder. I've done some marathons and some other races, but never something like a triathlon. And it's like, okay, Matthews, what's next? And the tap on the shoulder was loud and clear. It said, all right, Ironman, are you ready? And I wasn't, but I got. So I think that's what really happened for me. How I got to this anything is possible, which is the Ironman tagline, which I love to cite that. So powerful because anything is possible. It's never too late. We only get to do this thing once, this experience of life once, as far as we know for sure. And, it's just like my biggest passion is to make sure people are living this life we get for all it's worth.
Yeah, I'm working through the book 4,000 Weeks. I don't know if you've read that before, but it's basically about how life is short. And if you think about it and you break it down, yes, we might at the top end get about 4,000 weeks each. Now, some are going to have more, some are going to have less, but on average, you get about 4,000 weeks. Were you looking for that tap on the shoulder when the call to do an Ironman came? Or was it just, listen, man, let's do this?
I think that's been the experience. In my book, You've Got This, the 5 self-coaching keys you need to live boldly and accomplish anything. What really the resounding theme of that, and the reason it's a passion point for me is, look, it's always what's next. It's always what's next. No matter if you're building a staffing company or you're starting a new career in staffing, it's like, what's next? How do I go from here to here to here to here to here in this area of life experience and business results, frankly, right? So the tap on the shoulder, I did not want to hear that tap. I promise you, getting ready for an Ironman is a ridiculous amount of training. And I knew what I didn't know till I do now, but I didn't know what it was then, but I knew it was going to be intense. So no, I didn't really want that tap. And I think that what I've noticed, having, coached executives and emerging leaders for 20 years now, is that, guess what? We all have that tap happening. There's always that tap on the shoulder. But I know for me, and maybe everybody else can relate, it's like I just wanted to ignore that and pretend it wasn't there. But what happens in those conditions, Brad, is that then we live an abbreviated version of life. And I think that, this game you must win that I talk about when we got together last is really that internal tug of war between self-doubt and playing small and playing from a place of fear, understandable, but not powerful, to a place of self-confidence and strength and anything is possible type mentality.
Yeah, I share that philosophy of sort of responding to the tap on the shoulder. Actually, and I don't know if you know this, I signed up for my first marathon shortly after seeing you in California. So what had happened, Will, and a little bit about me, I sort of believe in this inadvertent rule of 3s. And if I start to hear something 3 or more times, I start to listen. So a friend had mentioned a marathon. My wife, shortly after that, without knowing my friend was talking about this, mentioned, hey, you should do a marathon by the time you're 40. I fly on a plane across the country. Now you're talking about marathons. And it seems like the universe is slapping me in the face saying, listen, Brad, maybe this is the next challenge. So shortly after you and I had breakfast together and we talked for a little bit, I got home and I signed up for the Buffalo, which is going to be in May of next year. So plenty of time to train. But I share that whole thought process of, listen, when the call comes and you don't know what it's going to be, I'm always open for that next challenge as well.
I love that. Congratulations on signing up. And if I can help in any way along the way, let me know.
I appreciate that. Let's stay on that wave then. What from your training, as you prepared for marathons, as you prepared for Ironmans, what has been the most impactful part of that training that you could share with either me, who is preparing for a marathon, or somebody who's just waking up for a really difficult meeting today?
Yeah, well, yes, great question. And right, in the armed forces, they have this thing called embrace the suck. Maybe you've heard of this term before.
I have.
And what that really replies to, like, let's just say you're in the Army and you're deployed and you're in a foxhole somewhere and it's maybe muddy and rainy and horrible, and plus your life's in danger. It's like you have a choice in that moment, don't you? You have a choice to fold. You have a choice to reach in and find new strength. And what we really control, as I shared earlier, the only thing we absolutely control is our mindset, our approach, the way that we show up. In this universe of things that are out there that we could focus on, most of them we don't control. And frankly, that's why I don't really watch the news that much anymore. Because
likewise,
it's like all these stories about these terrible things happening here and here and here and here. It's like, oh my gosh, but what can I do about that? Right? Unless I jump on a plane and fly there and help out in some way, which is possible. But my point is this: focusing on the things you control. If you're starting, you're up for a big day to day, maybe it's the most important day you've got. What I've realized over many, many years of leading teams is, look, some days that when you have the biggest appointment or the biggest interview or the biggest meeting, maybe of the whole year, maybe that's the same day that you've got very little in the tank, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you've been up all night with a child who's not feeling well, or maybe you've got a lot of just physical fatigue yourself. Mentally, you're not sharp. Physically, you're really drained. Emotionally, you're just off your center. And those are the days when sometimes the biggest deal shows up for you, the biggest meeting. And while we all want to, live and love that we're in a empathetic environment and universe, bottom line is you got to deliver results even when it's not your best day. So if you're out there and you're starting a big day in the staffing business and you're not feeling it, because trust me, when you're in the Ironman competition, and just really quickly for those who don't know, so what this really is it's a 2.4 mile swim, typically open water. Then then you jump off that, you get through a transition, you jump on a bike and you go 112 miles on a bike. And then you get off that, you go into transition, you change out of your bike gear very, very quickly, like in 2-3 minutes. And then you put on your running shoes and you run a full marathon after that. So you can imagine that there are periods of time where you're wondering, what in the world am I doing here? Then you're at that same place in your business or career. So reach in, embrace the suck. Know that there's going to be good times and there's going to be challenging times. It's all part of the experience, and you've got what it takes to power through those.
How do you find that breaking through the mental chatter, the mental clutter? What are some tips that you've learned along the way to break through that? Because that can be weighing on you, right? I know in my own training now, that can weigh on you, but I know even given a given day, you got 4 or 5 big meetings, you're not sure you can stick through it. You start to have this self-doubt creep in, right? Maybe it's imposter syndrome. Maybe it's self-doubt. I would probably call it imposter syndrome. I know you in your talk, you refer to it as self-doubt, probably along the same theory here. What have you found are some good ways to personally break through that?
Love the question. We're back to the choice point, right?
Okay.
This is why the game you must win is about that internal tug of war, because we're always going to feel that tension. No matter how enlightened we might be, this tug of war continues to exist. So what we want to do is win that tug of war. This is the emotional, mental tug of war between self-doubt and self-confidence. So, as has been said, what we focus on and put our energy into is what expands.
Sure.
So if you're really getting into self-doubt or imposter syndrome, and one of the exercises we do in the keynote, as you might recall, is we get everybody to experience this. And what that is really a 3-step program. Look, number 1, get your body engaged. All too often we kind of default to poor posture. I mean, it's becoming epidemic now with the the whole cell phone thing. We're crashing our posture.
Yeah.
But in general, get your posture where it is. Shake your body up a little bit. Get that juice going. So number 1 is body. Make sure you're breathing well. Okay. Number 2, we're just going to condense this down, is your mindset, which we're talking about all, in our entire conversation. In this case, specifically, the mindset is like, look, we can usually identify times in our life when we drop the ball very quickly. When we let somebody down, they stay in our mind, that episode. When we didn't get the deal, we remember those. But we also have the ability, and I believe the responsibility, to remember and be right at the ready with those times when we crushed it. And when we delivered, when we pulled through so big for somebody, when we went above and beyond, when we got the deal, when we got the promotion, when we got the job, when we got the big account. Those are all times that are also available in our consciousness, obviously, but our mind tends to have kind of a negativity bias. And the negative.
Why is that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why is that? Why do we lend towards that negativity bias?
Well, I think it's preservation, right? If you're out walking around, go back as I say, go back to when we were much more primal and much more reliant on our skills to literally survive. I'm not sure things are that much different now because we have to figure out how to survive the challenges of business and life still. But back then, if you're going through the jungle, just walk with me, and you're looking for things. You're not looking for, oh, that tree looks right. Oh, that bush looks about right. You're looking for the branches that are shaking, right? Like what's back there that I don't know about? So it's a self-preservation thing. We got to be better than that, more disciplined than that. We're not walking through the jungle anymore. So we have the ability instead to focus our mindset and remember those times when you did great things. Like for you and for everybody who's watching this, just take just a second right now and think back across your span of your life to a time that you were so proud, something you did, you accomplished. Again, it might be that you got that job or the first sale or the promotion, or you walked across the stage and got your diploma that you worked so hard for. Maybe someone new was added to your family, these joyous moments. And just make sure you can flood your consciousness with those as easily, if not more, than you can with the times when things didn't go your way. Okay? So body, then your mindset, getting yourself back into remembering those times when you nailed it. And then lastly is make sure your words are supporting the outcome you want. All too often, it's like, I'm not good at sales. I guess I'm just not a good leader. I'm not good at networking. Really? When's the last time you really took some time to refine those skills and see what was really inside waiting to come out in terms of those skills, right? So we're quick to kind of, get ourselves down. I say instead, make sure you have words at the ready. You might remember this from the keynote, right? Have words at the ready. That's why my book is called "You've Got This." Right? It's like these are things we want. Given this, now what do I do? Right? How can I go from where I am to where I want it to be? It's going to be in making sure that our words are supportive of what we want to do. I'm not a good leader yet. Is a different way of framing that same question that implies that you're going to get to be a good leader.
Yeah, I recently came across a video. It was two people talking, and one person was kind of beating themselves up about actually the weight that they were doing in the gym. And the person they were with, the person that was training them said, listen, you can want better for yourself, but you can't ridicule yourself for where you are right now. That's not fair to yourself. And I think there's always this sort of this, maybe it is imposter syndrome, maybe it's self-doubt, but it's, I see that person doing X, I should be doing X, or, I see that person closing deals, I should be closing deals. Or, right now it's incredibly hard to close job orders in the industry. I know this business is doing well. Why is mine down 35%? We're doing the same stuff. Why not me? And I think it's interesting, and you're alluding to it a lot right now. We can't ridicule ourselves for where we are. You can always want to be better. That's okay. That's a different mindset, though. That's a completely different frame of thought.
Absolutely. I love it. It seems like I could always, can't you tell it in someone's energy? One of the things that I was so attracted to when we got to know each other is just that I'm not surprised that you've got this podcast where you really focus in on, hey, how can we educate people more? How can we get people in a mindset that's going to help them crush it? And so it's your energy that's also contagious, and I'm sure contagious in your company and within the clients and the industry that you serve as well. So thanks for that, because I believe that's our opportunity, is to decide not only how we're going to internally dialogue with ourselves, but what are we going to bring to the table that's going to be positively infectious for those that we come in touch with. So I salute you for that.
I appreciate that, Will. Let's talk about body language and let's talk about posture for a second. So I know that's part of your keynote. I've actually been in the room twice when we've gone through it. And I will say, whenever a keynote says, all right, we're all going to stand up and we're going to go through an exercise, there's always this sort of inherent around the room. But for you, sir, everyone opened arms and was excited about it, which is a huge testament to how you presented it in the first place. I've had the opportunity to be in quite a few, many rooms where people say, all right, we're going to get up and we're going to do this. And you could tell people don't want to do it.
Right.
But let's talk about how body impacts outcome. So we all work at desks. We all have that hunched neck. We have that sort of posture where I'm even trying to do it now. You sit back a little bit more while you're at a desk, but that's difficult to do because you revert back to, okay, I got to get to my keyboard.
Right.
How does, and you started mentioning this, how does body impact outcome?
So much. We have ways that we do or deliver physically certain emotions. We have a way of physically expressing if we're bummed out or maybe even depressed. There's a body, like if I were to say, "Hey, Brad, just put yourself in a physicality that would represent someone who is depressed." What would you do? What would you do? Yeah, right. Just
I'd probably be smiling a little less, though.
What's that?
I said I'd smile a little less, but I'd probably sink way down.
Yeah. It was so interesting what you did. You were literally almost like you became deflated, right?
Yeah.
Your body
Yeah.
literally like it had a leak in the air supply, So we have a way of physically demonstrating or displaying depression. We have a way of physically displaying stress or anxiety. And we talked about it in the keynote. Put yourself in a position like if you were 20, you had the biggest appointment. You're driving to it. You look down, and you are going to be 25 minutes late for this huge appointment with the CEO of your client company and all that. And it's not because of traffic. It's because you didn't plan well and you didn't get out of the office in time. We have a way that we would have our body. We'd be clenched around the wheel. We'd be leaning forward, barely breathing. So how do you turn that around and make this an asset? Look, when you're feeling stressed or you're feeling bummed out or deflated or whatever else, change it right now. Stand up.
Yeah.
Posture back, gaze a little bit above horizontal, take some deep breaths. That's what they talk about in yoga all the time, is that breath is what informs our body, right?
Yeah.
So, just remembering, I guess, that we always have the option of determining how we're going to hold our body, how we're going to use our body to regenerate those reinforcing type of emotions that get us to better thinking. One more quick thing on that.
Please.
Probably not a brand new concept, but so important, is that when we are stressed, we are processing through what's called the amygdala. You're probably aware of that, are you? Yeah. And this is the fight or flight, freeze or fold part of our brain. It's a reptilian brain. It helps us survive. It releases an enzyme called cortisol, which literally dumbs us down. It moves our attention to our big muscles so that we can outrun the tiger, but we get away from really cognitive thinking. Well, we don't want to make our decisions from that. So when we want to get back to using our frontal cortex, where our strategic thinking, our best decisions come from, boom, we got to get back to that powerful body, mindset, and set of words that literally just moves our energy into the more powerful part of our brain.
Yeah. I can't speak more to resetting yourself throughout the day. I think we as professionals fall into a habit where I'm working. I'm not going to get up until this is done because I'm working and I'm in flow, even though you're not. You're looking at a clock and you're saying you're in flow until lunch. I am much more of an advocate for, listen, if this isn't working and I know I have a big project to do, I'm leaving. I'm taking a walk. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to go for a run. I might just go get a cup of coffee. Whatever it is, I need to find that reset button and whatever that might look like for me today. And that might mean today it's working at a coffee shop and tomorrow it's back here at my desk, barring I don't have to watch my son and I'm home with him and he's running around, whatever. Then it's a completely different conversation. But having the courage to say, listen, this isn't working for me right now. I know I have a lot to do. This is my reset button. And whether that's just 20 jumping jacks, whatever it might be, adjusting your body posture, taking some, deep breaths, some breath work at your desk, whatever it might be, finding that reset is absolutely critical. I couldn't agree more with you, Will.
Great. And that just sounds like discipline to me, right?
Yeah.
We have our default mode, which if we let our default mode drive the bus, right, then we're not going to have the kind of result that we could have. I love what I'm hearing from you is you take a disciplined approach. So, emotionally intelligent enough to realize, whoa, something's got to change here, and actually going and making the change. In this case, physically go to a coffee shop or whatever. So it's that opportunity. I'm just so convinced that, look, we get to create whatever's next for us. We get to create it every day. And as far as we know, any given moment throughout any day could be our before and after moment. So I want to make sure that as many people as possible are reconnected to this idea that you can recreate yourself in any moment. You can shake off the old limitations that might be in play. You can get focused on what's next and go make that happen, so that we have those amazing experiences that, wow, I never even knew I could do that. If you want to take Ironman as an example, I know when I'm at the starting line of an Ironman and I see the faces of all these people from different language, probably different parts of the world, different body shapes and style, it's just like, wow, everyone there has gone through that battle. They've had times through training where they're like, okay, I can do this. I'm feeling stronger. I'm getting there. They can envision the result of crossing the finish line. And there are probably just as many times for the training where they go, what am I doing? I'm not ready for this. Maybe I'm going to fail. But they step forward anyway. And because of that, oftentimes that it does create that before and after moment, meaning this is where I was before. I did something different. Now I see a whole new future of availability for me.
I've been hearing a lot lately from you. I'm getting this theme. I'm getting it from a couple other people I've talked to of what got you here won't necessarily get you there.
Yeah.
That is certainly true, I would believe, in training for an Ironman. I know it's certainly true in what I'm going through right now with my training. I know it's certainly true just in business and in general, my day-to-day. What got me to this point is certainly not going to get me the next 10 years in digital marketing and in speaking and whatever it might be, consulting.
Yeah.
Walk us through a little bit of what that might mean to you.
Sure. I like this trifecta. When it comes to, let's just take your marathon training, what's it really going to take to get the result you're looking for? And maybe, for you, the result might be crossing the finish line. The result for you might be crossing the finish line within a certain time, right? It might be crossing.
I'm still figuring that out, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. It might be, crossing the finish line and getting to the starting line without injury, right? By the way, a really good thing to be focused on too, right? By overtraining, you can sometimes literally push your whole training experience back because you get a, Achilles tendon, strain or something. So I like this. Look, whatever it is you're trying to do, let's go back to the amazing people in the staffing industry who are out there. And I really believe it's, whether you're in the recruiting side, the sales side, whether you own the company, whether you work for the company, it is a amazingly important industry. And it also is extremely challenging because owning a company is challenging. Sales is challenging. Recruiting is challenging. So one of the things, I like to get back to some basics sometimes. Think about this. Whatever it is you want to take on, here are 3 things that you can put, write down in your notes and start to really put that sticky note up on your computer screen. Where am I on these 3 things? One is mindset. And we've already talked a lot about mindset, so I'll just kind of let that one go. I think we all get it. It starts here, and the results of that work internally is what creates your external results. It's not the economy. It's not the market. It's not anything. It's that you get a mindset of success. Okay. So number 1, mindset. Number 2 is skill set. So let's take your marathon training, right? You want to probably maybe get a coach, maybe get a trainer. Think about what it's going to take through 1,000 YouTube video watches to figure out how do I run better? By the way, there's so many great things that can help your running get so much better, so much faster. So just know that's available to you. Because style, basically this is your skill set, knowing what to do. Mindset, get this right. Got to be right first. Skill set, what do I actually need to do? How do I get better? What are the sales techniques or the way that I can approach my clients that would set me apart in a crowded market? This is skill set. Mindset, skill set. Lastly, execution. And I find that it's one of those 3 things usually that is back to the Achilles heel, is the Achilles heel for most people. And oftentimes it's execution. They have the mindset in place. They know what to do. They're not executing consistently, right? They're not doing in the marathon training. They're not getting the runs in or the physical, kind of the strength training that goes along with that. In business, not doing the reps, right? Okay. Does that answer that question?
It does. And I think to bring it back even closer to staffing, first off, I appreciate the advice personally. Now to bring it to staffing. Right now, I fear we have the mindset in staffing. I think we might be on the cusp of needing to develop our skill set as it relates to sales. I think there's a lot of the industry who is stuck in a, here's how we've sold for so long. Here's how we're going to continue selling as we go forward. And candidly, a lot of the individuals I'm speaking with are reluctant to make that change to sell differently. And then the execution, I think there are what sets great staffing firms apart from the ones who might be struggling is execution. I think it's they're not making the calls, they're not making the emails, they're not making the touch points, they're not developing relationships, they're not executing. We think we're doing stuff, but we're busy, we're not productive. And that's very, very drastically different. So when I think about this bucket of three, we can have the mindset of success, but if we're not waking up with a plan, we're not working that plan, and we're not sticking to it, well, then the rest is certainly going to crumble.
100%. To kind of drill down on that point you brought up about, hey, this is how we've always done it. One of the things I talk about a lot is like, look, we also have the opportunity to break the old rules. And in my case, I created an acronym for rules. And there's reasons usually linked to embracing the status quo. And we have the human mind is always looking for reasons to stay on the track we're on because it takes a lot of energy to change our perspective. It takes energy to change our trajectory. Just as fast as I can. The space shuttle is something I talk about too. The space shuttle goes around the Earth at a rate of 17,500 miles an hour in its orbit using virtually no energy. Now, that's to do with orbit and gravitational pull and stuff I don't really care about. That just seems like really, really fast with no energy.
Yeah.
But to change course even 2 degrees, they have to fire these boosters, and they burn almost 4,000 liters of liquid fuel per second to make a change. So hopefully the metaphor is not lost on everybody. The bottom line is we can stay on the path we're on very easily. It's why most people do. It's why most people don't get to the goals that they want to achieve. But to change our path, to change the way we approach, to break our rules and create new ones takes tremendous energy. But once you get on that new orbit, having made the change in trajectory, now you've not only got more fast rate of speed, it's go to the same rate of speed you were before, but now you're on purpose. And you've got the kind of things you want in your life to help support and make sure you get to the end of this thing. And you're able to say, you know what? I'm happy with what I did in my life.
He's Will Matthews, 5-time Ironman competitor and the 2023 Colorado State Olympic distance triathlon champion for his age group. Will, we didn't even touch on that. Will, I want to give you the floor here before I let you go. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you might be able to help them in their day-to-day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, as we met, Brad, primarily, I provide 2 services to companies and individuals. One is, and associations. One is to be the keynote speaker, typically opening keynote speaker, but I'll do some closing keynotes as well. So if I can come speak to you, to your sales team, to your association, please just let me know. I love it. I'd love to bring that energy and those strategies to you too.
Yeah.
Number 2 is executive coaching and helping emerging leaders come up on one-on-one type work. Okay. But in general, what I just want you to know is that, look, whatever is next is waiting there for you to come grab it. So whatever that story is you're telling yourself, hey, I'm too old, or I should have done this before, or I'm just too hard, just know that is the only thing that's limiting you from going out and having that experience you want to have. So if I can help you and your team and your company and your association get there, I'd love to help you.
Will, before I let you go, I got to run you through the rapid fire round if you got a second.
Let's go.
One book that has fundamentally changed your life.
Easy. I love this book. It's on my desk right now. Many will probably have seen it before, but The 4 Agreements. This is a book, if you haven't read it, as I shared with you some of the models we talked about today, I like to get things simple, straightforward, something you can remember. And Don Miguel Ruiz puts down 4 basic things that I believe make you successful in business, but also in life too. So without a doubt, The 4 Agreements is my one of my favorite books. And look, I read a lot of books, so it was a hard choice for me to really think about that, but that's it. That's it for me.
I appreciate that. We're building a book club over here. It's one question that I love to ask every guest. I like to read a lot myself. And I joke on every episode that as much as I'm trying to give the listeners books for their book library, this is really a personal gain here. I need books for my library as well. So I appreciate the recommendation here, Will.
Absolutely.
Question 2, one piece of advice that you would give to somebody just starting in staffing and recruiting. What are you going to tell them?
Yeah, we think about endurance racing as a metaphor. If you're just starting, then brace yourself. Brace yourself for the really, really good times, because there will be many of those. The successes, brace yourself. Know how to celebrate and expect those things and see the vision. So bracing yourself for the good times and bracing yourself for the hard times too. Look, I consider myself to be one of the more optimistic people I've ever known. And I like to gravitate around people who are similar to that, like you, Brad. And the bottom line is this: look, sometimes that optimism that we carry can actually work against us just a little bit. Here's what I mean by that. So when I am about to do a big race, the night before, I write myself a note. And in that note, I say this: listen, tomorrow is going to be a long day. There are going to be times when I'm going to feel powerful, unstoppable, and ready to go. Capitalize on those, bike faster, take it in. Okay. There are going to be times that are going to be horrible, and I'm going to want to quit, and I'm going to feel like, why am I here? And I want to be aware of that ahead of time, so that when they come, they don't shatter my illusion that everything about the day was going to be marvelous.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're starting out, you're going to have some tough times. Just be ready for those. Maybe some of the tools you've learned today will help you fortify that ability to power through successfully, even when you're going through those tough times.
He's Will Matthews. Will, can't thank you enough for coming on today and taking the stage with me, buddy. It's great seeing you again.
Awesome, man. Thanks, Brad. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. Take care.